call to action for civil society, the theme for today's observance of World AIDS Day. And on our show, we look at government's response to eliminating HIV and AIDS as a threat to public health. Hello and thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. As government seeks to protect the health of our people, it's also providing an enabling environment for safe blood transfusion. Stay with us as we take you on an informative journey.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, December 1. The Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, are embarking on a landmark renewable energy and energy efficiency project. The deployment of renewable energy and improvement of energy efficiency in the public sector project was officially launched yesterday. Funding comes from the Global Environment Facility and the PCJ, with contributions from the UNDP and the Development Bank of Jamaica. It will be implemented by UNDP Jamaica and the PCJ. The project will support the improvement of service standards in renewable energy and energy efficiency sector, and the reduction of public sector expenditure on electricity.
This intervention will serve to bolster our ongoing efforts to reduce public sector energy consumption while driving efficiency.
It is also intended to contribute to the development of an energy services company, ESCO industry in Jamaica. A $400 million contract agreement has been signed between the Caribbean Maritime Institute, CMI, and Petrocaribe for the construction of a FESTO Fact Center at the CMI. A FESTO certification is a global stamp of approval for specialized engineers, such as those who will be trained at the CMI. It operates in much the same way as the ACC accreditation for accountants and Cisco for computer science practitioners. Transport Minister Mike Henry says the signing signals the CMI's unstoppable march towards modernity. His remarks were delivered at yesterday's signing ceremony by Chief Technical Director in the ministry, Dr. Janine Dawkins.
We are now going to be in a position to train and certify students in high-tech jobs in production systems, such as bottling companies, as well as the automotive and biomedical industries. We are forging a partnership to advance skills development as we add value to government's growth agenda.
The FESTO Fact Center will be CMI's fourth school and will offer world-class training and certification in robotics, mechatronics, and automotive engineering. It will be the only one of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean. Data coming out of the Ministry of Agriculture has revealed a downward trend in the country's food import bill. A reduction of 0.7% or $2.4 million was registered for the January to May 2016 period. Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Carl Samuda made the announcement in a message delivered by the ministry's Chief Technical Director Stephen Wedderburn. He was addressing the 13th anniversary of the Eat Jamaica Day exposition. Mr. Wedderburn said the reduction was due to initiatives such as the Eat Jamaican campaign, the Import Substitution Program, and the Onion Development Program.
Government certainly recognizes the need to eat things Jamaican, and we have been encouraging the production and the consumption of locally grown food as a way of reducing our large food import bill and of achieving food security.
The Import Substitution Program has also resulted in increased poultry production.
Since the launch of the Import Substitution Program, we have moved from producing some 72 million kilograms of poultry meat to last year producing 112 million kilograms. And we expect to surpass that amount significantly this year.
Self-sufficiency in egg production has also been maintained for the last 6 years, with reserves for exports to CARICOM countries. Meanwhile, traditional domestic food exports for January to May this year also increased by 19.95%. Manchester and other parishes in central Jamaica are poised to benefit from more investments in the business process outsourcing (BPO) sector. He says a number of companies have indicated a desire to expand their operations into that area of the island, having seen the success of entities like Sutherland Global Services.
They talk to one another. They see the productivity. They have experienced the productivity. They want to come and operate from Manchester as well as Clarendon and other areas of central Jamaica. We have to continue with that because we have a long way to go and we have a lot of people that require and need and are in urgent need of gainful employment.
Minister Shaw was speaking at the recent official opening of the expanded Rapid True Value store in Mandeville. And finally, veteran teacher and former JTA President Juno Gale is the recipient of this year's Jamaica Teachers Association Roll of Honor Award. Mr. Gale was presented the award on Tuesday evening at a ceremony held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid says the award affirms the importance the JTA places on adherence to principles and service to mankind.
We live in an age where too many adults, in fact, set bad examples for our children by living by a motto that says that the end justifies the means. Or if you can do it and get away with it, that means you're smart. More than ever, we must drive home to our young the importance of doing the right thing because it is the right thing. In Juno Gale, we have therefore found a professional colleague who did not seek to advance himself by self-serving aggrandizement.
Juno Gale has a teaching career spanning 40 years. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
According to figures from the United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, some 78 million people have been infected with HIV. 35 million have died from AIDS-related illnesses, and some 18 million people are on life-saving HIV treatment. It's these figures that have countries committing to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030 as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Here's what Jamaica has been doing.
An AIDS-free world by the year 2030. It's a vision that Jamaica shares with the world through the leadership of the United Nations.
The goal that was set by the UN and accepted by the global community is not out of reach, my friends, but it will take unprecedented levels of collaboration. All hands on deck. Government, communities, and the private sector. We will all have to band together to support this extraordinary push to end our epidemic at home.
The Jamaican government has long recognized stigma and discrimination to be a major barrier to HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment, as well as the care and support of people living with the disease. So the state has been working to address this and similar challenges such as gender inequality and gender-based violence by promoting greater equity, inclusivity, and human rights for all. Development of a workplace HIV policy, for example, sets out terms and conditions designed to ensure that every person living with AIDS is respected while trying to put a cap on transmission. An important component of the work is the building of leadership capacity at the community, district, and national levels. Increased awareness of the issues through continuous sensitization programs and improvements to the healthcare system is giving people with HIV/AIDS a new lease on life.
35 years ago, the world saw the first cases of what would grow to become the HIV/AIDS pandemic. In the 1980s, diagnosis equaled a death sentence. Today, people that are diagnosed with HIV/AIDS are able to live longer and, more importantly, to access necessary medicines and treatment.
In moving from a standalone HIV response, government has created a new integrated national HIV, STI, sexual health policy and strategic plan. Service delivery has been integrated through the creation of the National Family Planning Board's Sexual Health Agency. That agency serves the needs of Jamaicans in a more comprehensive and efficient way, providing guidance, leadership, advocacy, and the implementation of quality, equitable sexual health education and services. It has the role of building social cohesion among people living with HIV and key population leaders, and enhancing the coordination of policies and programs across sectors. While the Caribbean region has the second highest HIV prevalence in the world, with Jamaica the highest prevalence among English-speaking Caribbean nations, the country has been making progress. The Ministry of Health's data reports an estimated 1.8% of adults ages 15 to 49 are living with HIV. This amounts to an estimated 32,000. Introduction of antiretroviral ARV drugs in Jamaica has resulted in HIV-positive persons receiving treatment and proper care, which allows them to live as long as someone without the virus. Deaths related to the disease have decreased by 43%, with treatment reaching that same percentage of persons infected with the disease. It is believed that if the country is able to treat all persons who are HIV infected, it could reduce the prevalence rate to almost zero by 2030.
From 2000 till now, you've halved the number of new infections, and also from the same year, you have come from 10% transmission of mother to child to 2%, which is almost getting there.
Once persons are treated and their viral load is undetectable, they are considered 90% less likely to transmit HIV compared to someone who is not treated.
If you are on therapy, you are protecting a partner by 96%. Even, higher than or closer to what a vaccine would do. So starting people on therapy is paramount. Starting people on therapy will help us prevent new infections.
A 2020 timeline has been adopted at the United Nations in a fast-track approach, which proposes to achieve some targets towards eliminating HIV/AIDS as a public health threat. Prevention, treatment, and stigma and discrimination are to be the areas of focus.
For the treatment component, we're inviting countries to achieve what we call the 90-90-90. That is identifying 90% of the infections, providing therapy for 90% of those who have been identified, and keeping with viral detection at zero to the last 90%.
Abstinence and safe sex among young people are being promoted through sexual education. Sex education not only helps to prevent HIV and other sexually transmitted infections, but also supports other development matters, such as the prevention of teenage pregnancy.
In our work to put youth and adolescents at the heart of the HIV response, it is critical to recognize that the efforts, especially those channeled towards education, awareness, and personal responsibility, will ultimately translate to the development of individuals who are better equipped to make good decisions and positively contribute to their families, communities, and nation building.
Getting to zero is everybody's business, a target we can reach by addressing the clinical, cultural, and behavioral attributes that fuel the prevalence of HIV and AIDS.
Stand up and get in the race.
I can become the master of my destiny.
Step up your stride, make we work like a harder. Do it like Veronica, more than a supper.
We can rise above the challenges and shine.
Was with passion in your heart. Make a plan and stop all the idling. You think I saw? We reach out the edging. I can, you can. Like our Olympians, every Jamaican can.
HIV and AIDS is a threat to all human capital, and as individuals, we have a responsibility to protect ourselves. Here's what some persons shared about how we can bring the transmission of the disease to zero.
Yes, I should think so, because if we teach the children them and make it be known, if them take heed, yes, them can act on where them learn and it can reach to a zero level.
I think that it can be reduced to zero if we are conscious of ourselves and how we go about the daily thing that we do.
I think it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. It really requires a multi-sectoral approach. I think everybody has to take responsibility, not just a personal responsibility for their actions, and practice those behaviors that don't put them at risk.
Well, they can try by putting some measures in place or something to really get it done.
Well, I think getting to zero is possible because there is a lot of interventions going on now, so people are more aware of what they are dealing with, and know the risk that they are taking, so I think it is possible.
It's gonna be a tedious task to actually get to zero, because it's recently that in schools teenagers are aware of HIV because they're not aware of how it is being caught.
It requires both public sector and private sector working together, because it's not a fight that we can fight alone. There are a lot of people that are working on the ground. There are a lot of people that are committed to the cause, but it's time for all the sectors to pull together, because the reality of the situation is that everybody is at risk, and unless we work together as a people, then we're not going to achieve it.
Did you know that when you donate blood, it has to be tested and processed before it can be given to anyone? Yes, take a look.
As long as man is around to get sick or injured, blood will remain a high-demand substance for health practitioners. But for all its wonderful properties, the life-saving bodily fluid could become a death sentence if not handled properly. For those who need their supplies boosted, health workers cannot simply hook up a needle and feed the red and white cells from another individual straight to the needy bloodstream.
It's not just a simple matter of collecting blood, finding out what the group is, and then passing it on to the recipient. There are lots of other things that go into providing safe blood.
Think of blood like a home. Certain fundamental things like walls, floors, and ceilings are common to all, but the little things you put in over the years and experiences you have within those spaces make each unique to its owner. Like your home, blood can change owners, but you have to make some adjustments to have it meet the needs of the new recipient. That is what the technicians and health workers have to do before blood that is donated can be passed on to someone in need. The first step is to screen the donor to determine their medical history and suitability to donate.
The screening is aimed at 1, protecting the donor, and 2, protecting the potential recipient.
After that, it's a matter of sterilizing the donor's arm and proceeding to draw the blood. From there, the blood is taken to the lab, where it goes through a series of tests. Technicians look for things like blood groupings such as A, B, O, and Rh types, antibodies in the red blood cells, venereal diseases such as syphilis, HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, hepatitis B and C, which affect the liver, and HTLV, human T-cell lymphotropic virus type 1 and 2, a virus that weakens the immune system. At the island's blood bank, the National Blood Transfusion Service, tests such as these are carried out daily. For each unit of blood drawn, 2 sample tubes are also collected. These are referred to as the red and purple top. For accuracy, data on the tubes must correspond with the main bag. The purple top sample is used to screen for antibodies and blood groupings. Blood grouping is just as important as the infectious screening. This ensures compatibility for the recipients, that is, people of the same blood group receiving the same blood type.
We do our ABO grouping here at the blood bank using the Diamed system. This technology is a gel system. It has microtubules, otherwise we call it as wells, and it has our anti-zero already in these wells.
A drop of the donor blood is placed into each of these wells. It is incubated and put in a machine that spins the substance at a high speed. After this process, a reading is given.
This is an example of a blood group. We can read it macroscopically. This is reading O negative based on the cells that are seen here.
In VDRL testing, which checks for syphilis, a small amount of the serum or the white part of the blood is dropped into a tube and then incubated at 56 degrees Celsius. After 30 minutes, it is taken from the incubator, placed on a slide, mixed with an antigen, and then rotated at 180 degrees for 4 minutes. The slide is then placed under a microscope for reading. A positive sample for syphilis would show signs of lumps or flocculation. Samples from the main lab are taken over here for the human immunodeficiency virus HIV screening, as well as the human T-cell lymphotropic virus HTLV and hepatitis B and C screenings. The different reagents or chemical compound for each of these viruses are added to the blood samples and placed in this machine. The reagent will cause a color change to the sample, indicating a positive reading.
Basically, it interprets this color change to a numerical value, which we can quantitate. Either if it's positive, it tells us the degree of positivity based on the numerical value, and if it's negative, we also get a numerical value, but we also have a cutoff value which can tell us whether it's negative or positive.
Whole blood is never administered as part of safety measures. The whole blood is separated into components: red blood cells or packed cells, plasma, or white cells.
If you had a patient who was anemic, who is in heart failure, and you gave whole blood, you're giving that person a lot of plasma unnecessarily. They really need the packed cells component. Not only is it unnecessary, but you put them at added risk of making the heart failure worse. So it is important to give just the component that is required.
And the safety procedure doesn't end there. A cross-matching process is also done to identify minor blood groups that might interfere with a successful transfusion process. But once all the tests are done to satisfaction and the separation process is completed, you can rest assured that the blood to be administered is safe.
Up next, how the government is saving millions of dollars on its electricity bill across the public sector.
We must save energy. Ease up on the energy. Up on the energy. Save today. Protect tomorrow.
Since implementation of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program (EECP) in 2012, government has been seeing significant savings in its electricity bill. The EECP started with funding from the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB) and has since been continued through funding from the government of Jamaica. To date, over $7 million has been spent on the project. Under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program, buildings were retrofitted with energy-saving air conditioning units. To reduce the heat intake to the buildings, cool roof solution was applied, as well as solar tinting. Implementing agency, the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, has been diligent in overseeing the undertakings. The measures have reduced kilowatt usage per hour by more than 1 million per year. Over the 3.5-year period, total reductions registered at above 2.8 million kilowatt hours, which is equivalent to over 105 million Jamaican dollars. Over 40 government entities are engaged in the program. The fact is, government intends to become a trailblazer in energy efficiency and conservation by setting a benchmark for individuals and private sector companies to follow. To achieve this, the ministry is building a team which will carry out the vision. And so training sessions are ongoing with facilities managers for all government entities. They will apply the necessary measures that will foster a culture of conservation within the different ministries, agencies, and departments. The Office of the Prime Minister and Tax Administration Jamaica are just two of the many government entities that are recording savings. Representatives tell how the program has been working and what they have been doing to maintain the savings achieved. January to March 2012 was compared with the same period in 2016. January showed a reduction of 22%, February 33%, and March 36% in kilowatt hours. This equates to savings of over $3.4 million for the same period. And over at the Office of the Prime Minister,
our base year is 2008 to 2009. So we went and looked at our electricity costs during that period and then started to track from there. And to date, we are 34% reduction in the kilowatt usage.
That period was compared with 2014-2015, and kilowatt-hour usage was significantly reduced. To maintain these savings, both organizations have implemented several measures, including a building management system, BMS.
This system monitors each of the units on the building.
The Donald Sangster building, which houses Tax Administration Jamaica, only received air-conditioned retrofits, and so this is what's being monitored in the system.
Typically, the building management system, the thermostats are preset, right, at particular temperatures. The units are also preset for particular turn-on times and turn-off times.
Over at the Office of the Prime Minister,
what that will allow us to do is to monitor, and if a particular building, for whatever reason, goes up in a particular month, we can go and check why. It also allows us to focus our public education program within the ministry by building.
And to get the staff to play their part, energy wardens or energy champions have been appointed, posters strategically placed, and weekly energy saving tips distributed.
It's just to alert the team members that energy is important, saving is important, conservation is important.
Phase 1 of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program has been extended for another 2 years. Completion is scheduled for mid-2017.
We wish to thank the Energy Ministry and the IDB for the project for Jamaica, and also that we were a part of it.
It has been pretty good. And I suspect that with further retrofits, we can realize some savings.
Protect tomorrow, ease up on the energy, ease up on the energy, protect tomorrow.
That's how we bring the curtains down on our show for today, but if you want to see it again, log on to our website, jis.gov.jm. We also welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to JamaicaMagazine@jis.gov.jm or tweet at JISNews. Our team will be back with another show tomorrow, same time, same station. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.